Hi, Stamper fans. Welcome to another Make It Monday broadcast. I am Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am live here every Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So make sure to put it on your calendar, subscribe, hit the notification button, all that good stuff so you can always catch me live. And of course, if you can't, because life happens, you can always pop in here for the replay. So if you are watching live or if you are watching the replay, I'd love it if you drop a comment and just say hello. Love to see who stops by. Tonight, we have a fun little card for you. Cute little layout. And this layout actually, this card was made by my husband on Friday night for our Friday night stamping competition. I'll explain that in a minute for those of you that are new here. Hey, Benny, welcome. So this card was made on Friday night by Russ, and he actually used a sketch that I shared in my newsletter from last week. So if you are not on my email newsletter list, what are you waiting for? Let me know you'd like to hop on and I'll get you added. And those come out once a week. And I always have a sketch in there. So if you're looking for new ideas for layouts, I also have a color combination in every week. So if you're looking for new color combinations, that's a good way to get that going. I have a fun little virtual puzzle, jigsaw puzzle that I know Penny loves to do every week. So, and I do it too when I make it up. So that's a little fun thing. But so this is the card we've got for you tonight. And I will also be showing you an alternative using that same sketch because I happen to have made a card, not for Friday night competition, using that same sketch. So this will give you an idea of kind of what you can do with sketches because they're very different cards, but they both used the same sketch to get to them. So let's flip the camera down here. There we go. And I'll do a little chatting as we're going tonight, but as always, I have dropped a link to the full supply list with cardstock measurements in the video description. So you can click that link at any time. You don't have to worry about writing down measurements frantically while I'm saying them or what was the name of that stamp set. It's all right there in that link, so you can be good there. But with that, let me tell you what we're starting with. We are using two separate stamp sets tonight. The Count on Me, which has got some cute critters and good sayings, and then the Threw It Together stamp set, which has a lot of great different sentiments on it. You've got some healing ones, just some great, you're loved today and always. I love the sending you this paper hug with much love. I'm here for you. Some really good fonts and really just good kind of all around sayings in this stamp set. So he grabbed that out there to use for his sentiment. And then for inks, we are using the Starry Sky, which is one of our in colors. And in colors in the Stampin' Up! World, every new annual catalog, so that happens in May, they come out with 5 new trending colors that hang around for 2 years. So we had, this year we have Starry Sky was one of our new ones that'll hang around for 2 years. In May, we'll say goodbye to 5 of our in colors and we'll have 5 new ones that'll hang around for 2 years. And then the following year, Starry Sky and its little brothers and sisters will be going bye-bye and we'll say hello to 5 new ones. So every year we get an influx of 5 more, but we've got 10 total in colors that come and go every 2 years, along with our 48, I believe it is. No, I think 48 standard colors that hang around all the time. So Starry Sky we'll be using tonight, and Memento Black, Tuxedo Black ink, because we're going to be using some blends. Our Old Olive and our Crumb Cake. I believe he used Old Olive. It looked like that. I guessed. This is the problem with Friday night. So for those of you that are new here, Friday night stamping is a little competition that my husband and I do on Friday nights. Imagine that. And we each come down to the studio same time, and we each make a card, and then I post them to our Facebook group and our page, and everybody gets to vote on which one they like best without knowing who made which one. And then, excuse me, my throat's a little dry. On Monday mornings, I reveal the winner, and da-da-da-da, our little koala card was the winner this week, which is not always what I do for a Monday night's video, but I did really like his card, so I decided to hop on with his. Excuse me. Yeah, the seasons are changing and my throat is dry tonight. So, all right. So for cardstock, we are starting out with Knight of Navy, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. One moment. I forgot to score my cardstock, ladies and gentlemen. So 4 1/4. And I remembered to use the scoring blade, not the cutting blade. That's good. My regular viewers will tell you that I have cut instead of scored on more than one occasion on camera. So, all right. Next, we have 2 identical pieces of our basic white. These are 5 1/4 by 4 inches, one for the inside and one for the front. We've also got a couple of scraps of our basic white. I can tell you what size these are that I cut. You don't necessarily need this, but this is 1 1/4 by 4. This one is 2 inches by something. It needs to be at least 2-inch square for that little circle. So then we have, I am actually altering this one a little bit. So we've got a piece of Knight of Navy. This one happens to be 3 by 2.5. It's just for our little tag up here. So whatever will fit that. And then instead of Pacific Point, which he used, after he was finished, he says he thought he maybe should have used Starry Sky. So I'm going to use Starry Sky and we'll see what the difference was. And then we have a piece of our Sun Prints Designer Series paper. This is 5 1/4 by 2.5. So you can see how beautiful, and I will show you that back in a minute so you can see kind of all the designs. But that is our cardstock for tonight. We will be using the Big Boss, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, because we're using not 1, not 2, but 3 different die sets tonight. So we're using the painted labels because this is like one of our favorite dies in the world. It's so fun. And because we're using that, we needed a little circle to go in the middle. So we're using the layering circles, and we're going to use the scalloped ones. And then for his little tag here, we used the deckled rectangles. And I've got a nice little tip for you on that. So stick around so you can see exactly how you get that middle layer, because there's not a die that is actually between the white and the navy sizes that he cut out. So I will show you how to improvise. And then we'll also be using the Fern 3D embossing folder, which is relatively new to us, and we love it. And he correctly thought it went really well with these cool leafy patterns on the designer paper. And dimensionals, of course. So let us get started. Let me get the middle out of the way right away, right? The inside. Because y'all know I like to get just things out of the way. Let's get them done. In the supply list, I also mentioned what size blocks I'll be using. So I'm using size B and C. So if you are new to stamping, or if you don't have all the blocks yet, you can kind of see what you'll need for these particular images. And all of our stamp sets, whether you're looking at a catalog or you're looking at the online store, you can see exactly which blocks are recommended for the stamps that you pick out. So no worries there. And if you're ever wondering, if you can't find that information or anything, just reach out. I'll be happy to tell you which blocks are the right for you, the project you're working on. So on the inside, we're going to stamp our little fox, who's cutie patootie. I love this little stamp. One of my favorites. I think I mentioned that last week on Facebook. All of the products that I show you here tonight can be purchased in my online store. You'll find that link in the video description. You will also find a link to my Facebook page in the video description. And every week on Facebook, I kind of pick a theme. It might be a product, it might be a color combination, it might be, you know, whatever. And I explore that all week on the Facebook page. So this week we are working with Designer Series paper. This is all of our pattern paper, scrapbook paper, depending on what you call it. We call it Designer Series paper. So I will be working with that all week, and you can see all of the fun little things that I come up with over there on the Facebook page. And I just realized I stamped my fox in the wrong direction. That's the second week in a row I think I've done that, you guys. I know I did the spiders like that a few weeks ago, so a little less talk, a little more concentration, huh? So yeah, if you're not already following me on Facebook, you might want to give that a click if you are on Facebook, that is, because I do share a lot of ideas over there, and we do have our Friday night stamping competition over there as well. I have just gotten started on Instagram. I did not put that link in the description, but if you're on Instagram and you want to follow me there, you can just search Stamper Nan. I'm pretty much Stamper Nan everywhere on the internet. And you can follow me there as well. Adhesive, there we go. Seriously, you guys, it's been a Monday, let me tell you. I don't know if it's the weather change or it might be the lack of sleep, because you know, we didn't get home until after 10:30 last night on a school night. We went to Peoria to see the Manhattan Transfer. I'm like huge fan. It's their 50th anniversary. I can't believe they've only been around that long now that I think about it, because that means, you know, I've been around longer than they have. So, and I just know I've been a fan my entire life. My mom was a big fan, and so am I. So, luckily, my husband is too. My kids are. It's awesome. So we went to see them last night, and it was amazing. And so we got home kind of late. So I think I might just be a little mentally fuzzy today. So, let's see. Am I using that one? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do all of my stamping first, and then we'll get the die cut machine out and we'll start die cutting. So for those of you that are new here, you're new, about a little bit about me, so you can get to know me a little bit. So I've been stamping for over 20 years. I've been a demonstrator for like 19 and a half. These guys again. So stamping a good long time. I don't see that stopping anytime soon. Something horrific would probably have to happen to get me to stop stamping. It's my outlet. I am married, obviously. I talked about my husband. We have 2 grown kids, and we have now 3 grandboys. Very excited. We just added our 3rd grandboy, 2.5 weeks ago? Yeah. Oh, cutie pie. And we live 10 minutes away from them. So our daughter lives 10 minutes away from us with her family, and our son lives like, I don't know, 12 minutes away from us. So everybody's in the same area. I'm very happy about that. Got our little koalas there, our little grass. What else about me? I absolutely love music. If you've watched a live before, you may have heard me talking about karaoke. I love karaoke. I love to sing. I've been singing my whole life. I grew up with my brother telling me to shut up, that he wanted to hear the radio. So it didn't work out well for him because I don't shut up. So, and also I love reading, and I really love puns. Good puns, bad puns, like the worse the better, I think. So, If you have any puns, share them with me. I love them. I love wordplay, all that kind of stuff. So, all righty. So tell me in the comments if we have anything in common from what I've just told you about me. Now I have to find this. There it is. So also a little tidbit, when we put our stamps together, especially when they're big sets full of just sentiments like this, it's really hard to read the words backwards, right? So what we have decided to, we started doing was we would put them in the same order as they are on the case in the front here, so that I know, oh, I'm looking for the second one down or whatever. So I knew from here that it was going to be over on the right side. So another thing my husband told me this tonight before I popped on here was that this sticker is very crooked compared to the words on the back. Get that so you can see. And so obviously on the red rubber stamps, you can't see through them. So it's hard to get that lined up. So what I usually do is I use my grid paper and I will line up the block with one of the grids. So I know that the block is straight. And then, since you can see through the block, I will line up those words as best I can on one of those lines. So now when I go to stamp, I can also line up my cardstock on one of those grids. So now I know my cardstock's straight. I know that the stamp is pretty straight on the block. So I can ink that up. And if you want, you can go off here and see if you got it good. So I line up my block again with one of those grid lines, and whoo, it's pretty straight. Love that. You guys, seriously, it works on camera every week, and I still am surprised. Okay, so I'm going to be die cutting this, but I do want it kind of close to the top. So we're just going to line that up with a grid line. And bam, we've got a straight greeting. I love that. Okay, let's go ahead and do our coloring first, right? Then we can get everything out of the way, because you all know that's how I like to stamp. Now, I will say, when I'm stamping on Friday nights, it's not quite as organized. I am a little messier probably on Friday nights, because I'm kind of just doing things on the fly. But when I'm on camera on Mondays, I already have a plan. I know what the end is supposed to look like. I know exactly what I'm supposed to be putting together. So it's a little easier to do it in stages. It's not easier to do it and talk, but it's easier to do it in stages. Oh, looks like our crumb cake marker is getting a little fuzzy on the end. I love these Stampin' Blends markers. They are alcohol-based markers, so they are made for blending because they actually will blend into each other. So they come in 2 packs with a light and a dark for the most part. And so you can put some shading in here. Whew, that is some dark shading I got going on. It's very funny to me every time I make one of his cards, because my husband does love the coloring. My coloring always looks very different from his, and mine is usually darker than his. I don't know how he does it. But so I put that little bit of shading in on some of those spots, and now I'm just going to go over that with the light marker again to blend those in a little bit so they're not quite so jarring. And because they're alcohol markers, as that alcohol kind of evaporates, the color kind of blends out, spreads out a little bit, fades, you know, and blends into each other. Oh, you know what? It actually looks like you stamped that in green now that I'm looking at it. That's okay. I'll just go over it. I saved y'all a stamp pad. So I'm just going over those lines with the dark Old Olive, and then I'll take the light one and kind of do the whole grass area. There we go. Super cute. Okay, let's make some room because the big boss is going to be coming in. I think that's all my stamping. Yes. Get my sample out of the way. Okay, so let's do our embossing first. And you get all the plates that you need come with your Stampin' Cut and Emboss. So you don't need to buy any extra plates to start. You have everything you need to start with. You can always add things if you want. But all of our plates are numbered, and then the descriptions, the diagrams will show you which numbers of everything you need. So for this one, there's a standard embossing folders, which give they're a little thinner. And then the 3D. This is a 3D one we're using, so we're going to use this diagram. So it tells me to use platform 1 and then plate number 4 with my embossing folder and cardstock between. So let's get our embossing folder. Let's get our cardstock. And usually, like 99% of the time, you want to put the hinge through first. So the side that's hinged, right? You're going to put that through the machine first. And then I've got my specialty plate, which is number 4. We're going to pop that on top. We're going to slide that whole thing in till my handle pops. Then we can roll it. I know that finished up off camera. I'm sorry. It's a little big machine. So, but here is what you end up with after you've embossed. So it's that great texture. You can use either side, so you can have it kind of debossed and sunk in, or you can have it embossed and it raises up. Alrighty. Now for die cutting, we will still use that number 1 plate, but this diagram will show you that then you need the number 2, which is a little, I'm not even sure. It's like a shim. I'm not sure what they call this particular, but it's the number 2 guy. And your diagram is still on here. This is the only time you use number 2 is when you're die cutting. So when you're doing your other embossing folders, this guy doesn't get used. So that's why this is the only diagram that's on there. And then you'll need 2 of the cutting plates, and these are both labeled as number 3. So let's cut out our little koala wallas first. We will get our layering circles. I get my little scalloped one. So for those of you that are new to die cutting, that little design, that's the cut side. So you want that towards your cardstock. I don't really talk about that very often, but it's not something you know intuitively. So, all right, and then you'll just put your other plate on top and you'll send him through. And I'll move this over so you can see a little better. If you get any creaking or popping noises, those are very normal with a die cutting machine, with ours or pretty much any other that I've ever used. So don't worry. And there's our little scalloped circle koalas. Super cute. And we will do our starry sky with our cool swirly, circly die. I don't know what it's called, but we're going to go back through the other way. Crazy. Because yes, you can go either way. So I always joke that this machine works for both left-handers and right-handers. So this run requires a little bit more attention than our last one, because it's got a lot of little parts that need to pop out of it. So you can get most of those by just kind of popping your nails through. And I don't have really long nails, so You can see that you can get most of this stuff right out of there. That's always the part that does that. So this particular die, when you get to these teeny parts, sometimes they will kind of catch. So you want to be careful not to rip it. And then you want to very gently, I'm just gently poking that through so I can grab these edges and kind of work this out of here. Because these parts will kind of try to hold on to stuff. So you can see I've got some cardstock stuck in there. There's a couple of things you can do. I did not bring my little brush over here with me, but I do have my take your pick tool. So you see all these little holes? That's exactly where some of that cardstock might get stuck. So if you just press on it from the back, it helps release that. Now it's all clean, ready to go. So if you leave that in there and then you keep die cutting over and over and over, you will eventually have some problems with it not die cutting well because those cardstock pieces are then in there messing up the width and everything and the cutting blades. So you do want to clean those out. All righty, so we have that going. Okay, now we have the cool little tip I have for you. And it's very funny. So I felt all of your pain when I've tried to just verbally tell you something before and you go, I don't get it. I'm not getting it. So Russ was trying to verbally tell me how he did this. And I'm like, nope, I don't get it. So we had to come downstairs and he had to show me. So I'm going to show you so you get it too. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, we've got our deckled rectangle dies. Put our platforms down. We're going to take this size die. And obviously, I don't need this whole thing. I'm really just die cutting the top of this. So I'm going to take a little piece of Post-it tape. Post-it tape is your friend if you're a die cutter. And we'll put this through. Oops, my handle's on the other side. That's a first. I've never done that before. But yeah, it's going to be tucked behind a layer, so it doesn't matter if it's the full size or not, right? Okay, so we have that piece. So we have that cool deckled edge, right? And then we're going to use the very next size up on the navy cardstock, which is our biggest layer. Oops. I'll tack that down just for the heck of it. Send that one through. There, you hear the popping? It's because I forgot to angle my die. Okay, so now we have that one. We're going to take that same size die and cut our starry sky. So we're going to need to obviously make that smaller at some point, and I will show you how to do that. Let's rip this off so it's a little smaller. Okay. Also, when you heard all that popping last time, when you have a die that has a straight edge like this, a long straight edge, there's no curve to it or whatever, it's always best to put it in at a little bit of an angle. And then it goes more smoothly through the machine and it doesn't make quite as many little noises. It just puts a little less stress on the machine. See, you didn't hear any of those pops, just that last one. Okay. So now what we will do, we have that piece. Taking the same size, right? Yes. Like, how did he tell me how to do that now? Okay. So this is way too big for that. right? Because it's going to be the same size as our navy piece. So then we won't get that layering. See how he's got that layered? So we want those 3 pieces. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to make this easier on myself, I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of our white. We're going to stick that down, but we're going to put it way towards the left side. So we've kind of got that same distance that we want on the left and the top. Way too much over here, right? So we're going to take that same big die. We're going to line it up. And if you kind of push it down until it locks into the top, you know you've got the top right. And then just eyeball it so you've got about that same distance on the other side here. Okay, and then we can tape it down so it doesn't move on us. And you see that this is all off the cardstock, so it's not going to cut it anymore over there. It's fine. It's only going to cut this side because that's the only part that's actually on the cardstock now. Alrighty. And I put it through flat again. Okay. I'll pull this out of the way so you see that that's the only strip that it cut off. Take this away. And now we have that good, pretty even rim around the whole thing. Yay! Thank you for explaining that to me, honey. And now we can put that together with that. I am not worried about the fact that they are not the same length or anything because they're all going to get tucked behind our designer paper layer. So I'm only worried about the top. Okay. Alrighty. And now it's assembly time. So hopefully I won't stick anything down before I should, because that's happened too, hasn't it? All right. So our embossed layer is going to go on straight to the card base. It's got a nice navy border all the way around it. And then we're going to stick this guy behind this first. I'm going to put a couple of rows of adhesive down here. I'm not too fussed about how far over it is or anything like that. Just wanted to get it down. There we go. So now this whole layer will go on with dimensionals. Absolutely love these. You all know that if you've watched me for a minute. We always, when we come down to stamp, actually, we pretty much just put dimensionals out because we know we're going to need them. The backing's off. Okay. All right, and then we need to put together our little swirl with our koala. Anybody see where I put? Oh, there he is. Where did I put my koala? I worked so hard on him. So this die is really fun too, because even though it has a lot of intricate little spacing and everything, it's got this big circle in the middle, so you can put dimensionals or adhesive or whatever on it without a lot of futzing around. You don't have to worry about liquid glue or anything. We're going to pop this one on dimensionals too. And when I put dimensionals on this piece here, I did not put any really in the center because I was going to put these down. And that way, when it goes through the mail, it's kind of all one thickness because the dimensionals were not under this and then under that again. Alrighty. Okay, so here is the difference between the Pacific Point and the Starry Sky. Both look very cool. Just a very different, just a little bit of a different look is all. And that's the awesome thing. You can decide. So like for myself, I'm not a big fan of yellow. So when I see something that's yellow, I usually will substitute the yellow for something else, or I'll use it as a very small accent color. Because I'm just not big on yellow. And that's fine. So you can kind of make your own choices that way. Now, I did promise you that we would, wow, talk, man. I did promise you that I would show you an alternative that used the sketch that we also had. I have to figure out how I'm doing this. Hold on one moment, because I want to show you the sketch as well. There it is. Okay. So here we go. So this is the sketch that I shared on my newsletter this past week. And you can see up here that I had this black piece was kind of the whole weight. So what Russ did was he shortened that up and just put it over on this side. And then instead of the sentiment, he put the koala, the image over there. You like mine better. You're so sweet. I do like the way the starry sky looked, but I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't said, oh, I wish I would have done that. So now let me show you what the other ones look like. Wow, we really got out of hand there. So this was the one that I happened to make of the sketch the other day, and then he altered it to be like this. So literally these two cards came off the same idea, but they're very, very different looking. And if you had received both of them, you wouldn't even really probably look at them and go, oh, that was the same sketch. So very different looking things. On this one, I stayed very true to the sketch, right down to the fact that it's a black layer. But then I also, you know, and I took that sentiment, I liked the little angled cut. I've been using that a lot lately. But then I took some designer paper and I actually stamped that jar right on the designer paper before I punched it out. And let me get on camera here. There we are. And in doing that, I've got a cool design on my jar, you can see, but I didn't have to color that or stamp it in or anything like that. So definitely pull out your designer papers and start stamping right on them, because that really adds a lot to your projects. And then I've just stamped and colored in my florals above that. So two different, very different looks from the same sketch. As you can see, that's kind of how you can interpret that. So if you are not, as I say, on my email newsletter list yet, make sure that you let me know and I will add you to that. I also wanted to do this again. I'm like working with my other monitor over here, so I don't know. I'm silly. I wanted to let you know the other things that are going on right now with Stampin' Up! So that you are prepared. We are actually right now in the middle of subscription period for the next Paper Pumpkin kit. Paper Pumpkin is our monthly subscription crafting kit. It comes with all the supplies you need to make a fun crafting project. So this next one is cool, sparkly Christmas tags. And there is also a little add-on. I think it's like 12 of those little bags that you can use your tags on. So if you want to give some cute little gifts, you've got that going on. We did just come out with this birthday card organizer kit, which is not a subscription one. It's just available on my online store. And then all throughout the month of October, we have a special on our starter kit, which is really the best deal that you've got out there. So you can get $155 worth of product for only $99 plus tax. That always ships free. So that's like 36% savings on your product and another 11% savings on your shipping. It's a big, good deal. So definitely talk to me about that. If you have any questions, would love to have you join our team and be a discount diva or a business builder or anywhere in between. I have them all on my team and I love them equally. So would love to have you join us. Last thing I wanted to mention is this week on Wednesday and Thursday, what is that, 19th and 20th, I do have my next local class, so in person. So if you are local to Bloomington, Illinois and want to join us, reach out and let me know. I've got spaces available still. I'll be happy to have you join us there too. So that is all I have for you tonight. Thank you for joining me again. And until next Monday, I'm still Nan Gerlitz. Happy stamping.